Now we're going to be looking at null factor law. If we look at the word null, basically this translates to 0. Keeping that in mind, now let's have a look at the null factor law. The null factor law states that if the product of two or more factors is 0, then at least one of the factors must be 0. So if that doesn't quite make sense, that's completely okay. Let's just take a moment to break down some of the terms in the statement. So product meaning to multiply. And the key thing here is to realize that at least one of the factors must be 0. So if a times b is equal to 0, then we can say that a is equal to 0, b is equal to 0, or a equals b, which equals 0. So again, if this is quite complicated to sort of navigate or make sense of, let's actually define these terms with numbers. So let's say that a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 0. So doing step 1, a times b must equal 0. So 2 times 0 proves that it equals to 0. So now, even though a does not equal 0, we know that b equals 0, and because we defined it as that. So what we've just proven is that the product of the two factors, 0 and 2, equaled and it proved to us that at least one of the factors was actually 0. So now, let's apply this to a quadratic. So for example, if we have the following equation, x minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0, what we can do is to separate them and find the values of x which makes it true. So by that, I mean literally separating them. So let's separate this and separate that. So we've got x minus 2 and make it equal to 0. And I'm going to do x plus 3 is equal to 0. So now I'm going to solve both of them respectively, but I'll do it one at a time. So let's focus on x minus 2. Taking this negative 2 to the other side, I get x is equal to 0 plus 2. Therefore, x is equal to 2. Then I've got x plus 3 equals 0. Taking that plus 3 to the other side, I'm going to have x is equal to 0 minus 3. Therefore, giving me an answer of x is equal to negative 3. So those are my two answers, which basically makes the equation true. We can check this by substituting the values into the original equation. So let's do a little check. So let's substitute x equals 2 into the equation first. And check and see if one of the factors does actually become 0. So I've got 2 minus 2 plus, oh sorry, that was multiplied by, not plus. 2 plus 3. So 2 minus 2 becomes 0, times that by 5, and that gives us an answer of 0. So when we substitute x equals 2 into the equation, we definitely get one of the factors being 0. So this proves that x equals 2 does make the solution correct. Now let's substitute x equals negative 3 into the equation and check if the same thing happens. So I'm going to have negative 3 minus 2 times that by negative 3 plus 3. Minus 3 minus 2 will give me an answer of negative 5. And then negative 3 plus 3 is going to give me an answer of 0. Again, negative 5 times 0 will give me an answer of 0, which proves that when x is equal to negative 3, this is also a solution that makes this equation true. So now, keeping this in mind, let's have a go at doing some of the examples, applying what we've just learned. So I've got the expression, or the equation, sorry, x minus 4 times x plus 1 equals 0. So now one of these factors must equal to 0. So what we can do is again split them. So I can have x minus 4 equals 0. So I'm going to have x is equal to 0 plus 4, because I'm taking this negative 4 to the other side. And I've got an answer of x equals 4. Then I can do the same with x plus 1 equals 0, taking this positive 1 to the other side, and I get x is equal to 0 minus 1, giving me an answer of x is equal to negative 1. Again, all this is telling me is if I substitute x is equal to 4 into the expression, or the equation, sorry, I will get an answer of 0. Or I can choose to substitute x equals negative 1 into the equation, and I will also get an answer of 0. So again, you can apply your checks if you like, especially when you're starting out, to make sure that you are doing it correctly, you're solving your equation correctly, and you are grasping that concept of null factor law. So now let's take a look at the next example. So I've been given x times x minus 5 equals 0. It's important to remember that even though it doesn't look like what you're used to seeing, which is, x minus or x plus something in a bracket, this is still a factor. All this is saying is that it's x equals to 0, or we have x minus 5 equals 0, taking that negative 5 to the other side, so I get x is equal to 0 plus 5, giving me an answer of x is equal to 5. So what this says is that my factors to give me, the factors that will make this equation true is either when x is equal to 0 or when x is equal to 5. So now with this example, we've got 4 minus 3x times 6x plus 12, and we're told that when multiplied together, it gives us an answer of 0. So again, we're going to still apply the same theory that underpins null factor law. So I'm going to separate them and write 4 minus 3x equals 0, and then I'm going to have 6x plus 12 equals 0. So taking the first one and solving for x, so we've got 4 minus 3x equals 0. What I'm actually going to do is take this to the other side and make it positive. So I get 4 is equal to 0 plus 3x, giving me an answer of 4 equals 3x. Dividing both sides by 3. 3 goes into 3 once, thus giving me an answer of x is equal to 4 divided by 3. Looking at the next part of it, I've got 6x plus 12. Again, here I'm going to take that positive 12 to the other side, making it negative, so I get 6x equals 0 minus 12. 6x is equal to negative 12. Dividing both sides by 6. 6 goes into 6 once, 6 goes into 12 twice, and then remember that there is the negative in front, and this gives me an answer of x is equal to negative 2. So again, what this means is that I could substitute either 4 on 3, or I could substitute x equals negative 2 into the original equation, and one of them will produce a factor that is 0. Again, if you're doing this at home and you're practicing, I would highly recommend that you actually pause the video now, substitute one of these in, and find out whether or not we've actually solved it correctly and we do get a factor of 0 for one of them. And our final example, we've got 2x minus 4 all squared equals to 0. Remember that when you see this, it basically is telling us that the equation can also be written in the following way. However, what it does mean is that because it's repeated twice, we're going to get the same answer. So we only have to actually solve it once. So solving 2x minus 4 and making it equal to 0. Basically now what we'll have to do is take this positive 4 to the other side. So we've got 2x equals 0 plus 4. I didn't mean to say positive, I meant negative 4 and make it positive. So we get 2x equals to positive 4. Dividing 2 from both sides, I get x is equal to 2. And again, if I substituted x equals 2 into the given equation, I will get an answer of 0, which proves the point that one of the factors is actually 0. And that's it for null factor law.